Hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's Healthy Body Seminar. I'm Dr. Ray Strand, and I am RX's Chief Medical Officer and the head of the Scientific Advisory Board for RX. I have been involved in a private family practice now for over 40 years, and in the last 18 years, I've focused my medical practice on nutritional and preventive medicine. I'm excited about tonight's talk because we're going to talk about essential fats, especially fish oil. When I started in medicine, we were taught that all fat was bad and that we should try to decrease all fat in our patients because, of course, the number one killer in the United States and Canada was heart disease. And it was this cholesterol and fats building up in our arteries that was critical to this heart disease. But now we're learning that not all fat is bad. In fact, the bad fats are considered saturated fat, and especially the trans fats. But there are good fats, the monounsaturated fats and the polyunsaturated fats, which are primarily the essential fats or omega-3 fats. Now, we find that the good fats actually decrease your total cholesterol and that LDL or bad cholesterol and raise that good HDL cholesterol. So now we're finding that, yes, we need to be decreasing the amount of bad fats we're consuming, but we actually need to be increasing the good fats. And after tonight's webinar, I hope you have a better understanding of what essential fats are and why they're so important for our health and for our bodies. Basically, essential fats means that the body is not able to make them. They're essential for the body, but the body is not able to make them. And there are primarily two essential fats, the omega-3 and the omega-6 essential fats. Now, omega-6 essential fats actually become the body's natural inflammatory products, or what we call eicosanoids. These are very potent hormones that really respond to inflammation or give you an inflammatory response. So if the body is cut or injured or bruised or you fracture or you are attacked by a foreign body, a bacteria, virus, these inflammatory response is a great protector for the body. However, omega-3 essential fats actually become the body's natural anti-inflammatory products. Now, what is important is that balance is key. Yes, at times we need this inflammatory response, but at other times we need this anti-inflammatory response. And so I hope you gain a better understanding, but the balance is the key. So again, the body needs the ability to create inflammation in order to heal any damage that may occur. But the body also needs to have enough anti-inflammatory products to suppress this inflammation in order to protect against too much inflammation, which can be damaging to the body. Well, the medical literature shows us that we actually need to be taking in omega-6 and omega-3 essential fats in about the same ratio, or 1-to-1, or at least 2 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. This is critical for health. So we know this. However, when you look at the medical literature, what is a shock is the fact in the U.S. and Canada, where most of these studies have been done, we're consuming about 20 to even 40 omega-6 to every 1 omega-3. Why is that? Well, let's just look at where do we get omega-6 fatty acids. Well, they're primarily found in meat, chicken, dairy products, all of our processed foods, corn oil, cottonseed oil, and peanut oil. Well, there's a lot of that, especially when you include processed foods, because that's what we're consuming so much. So you can begin to see why we get adequate amounts of omega-6 and essentially too much. Now, omega-3 fatty acids are found in cold water fish, flaxseed, hemp seeds, that's supposed to be hemp, not help seeds, soybean oil, walnuts, and chicken-fed or range-fed chicken eggs. So there are other sources, but primarily you can see that we just don't get as much omega-3 in the Western diet, and we're loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. So the fact that we are consuming so much omega-6 and so little omega-3, would make you understand the fact that we've just got too much inflammation in our bodies. In other words, what we're finding is that our bodies just have too much inflammation. And inflammation is the root cause of many of our diseases, like heart disease is an inflammatory disease, asthma is an inflammatory disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, arthritis, and this list goes on and on. So what's the answer? What can we do? Well, I, as a physician who's very concerned about preventing and protecting health and preventing disease, I believe the answer is actually in decreasing your intake of omega-6 while you actually increase your intake of omega-3. Well, how do we do this? Well, it's quite simple. We've got to decrease the amount of meat and dairy products we're consuming and processed foods, while at the same time increasing our intake of vegetables and fruits, of nuts and legumes, and cold water fish. These are the great sources of omega-3. But because most of us even then have trouble, I will share later on in this webinar that we really need to consider taking high quality fish oils in supplementation to bring this back to balance. So I think fish oil supplementation is key because fish oil contains those good omega-3 essential fats in the form of what we call DHA and EPA. These are two different omega-3 essential fats. Now, what is key about this? Many people want to consume flaxseed oil or do this. The trouble with flaxseed, not that it's bad, but it has to go through a very prolonged chemistry progression to become these good omega-3 or these eicosanoids, these anti-inflammatory products. However, we know that DHA and EPA, the next step is to become these anti-inflammatory. So I get a much better clinical response in my patients when they take fish oil supplementation versus flaxseed. Now, the problem in the marketplace today is most companies are using fish that are very large fish, and they've been contaminated with heavy metals because these large fish are on the top of the food chain. And that's the problem. But they also purify their fish oil because of these heavy metal contamination. If you think about it, these fish that are on top of the food chain, they're eating all the little fish, and the little fish getting eaten by a little bigger fish, and it goes on and on. So they're just these heavy metals, they can't get rid of it. So the larger fish have the highest content of heavy metals. So most companies that are providing a fish oil supplement, even if it's purified, even if it's pharmaceutical grade, they're using a petroleum solvent to get rid of these heavy metals. And this almost always leaves an unwanted residue. So this is the concern. But now let's look at fish oil and what it does for our health. And I'll talk more about RX's fish oil and its source. But first of all, we know fish oil improves heart health. You see, heart disease is an inflammatory disease of your arteries. It is not a disease of too much cholesterol. I can show you study after study in the New England Journal of Medicine, the Journal of American Medical Association, the British Lancet, that is showing that inflammation is the cause of heart disease, not too much cholesterol. In fact, over half the people who have a heart attack actually have normal cholesterol levels. We have spent the last 30 years giving statin drugs and all these drugs, lowering cholesterol, just knocking the bottom out of cholesterol. And yet heart disease remains the #1 killer in the U.S., Canada, and the Western world. So what they don't understand is heart disease is an inflammatory disease. Well, fish oil supplementation actually decreases this inflammation in your arteries. In fact, there have been studies comparing fish oil with statin drugs. As I show you on the Archives of Internal Medicine, they actually showed that people who took statin drugs decreased mortality by 10%. But if you took fish oil just fish oil. You decrease mortality by 23%, double the statin drugs in protection. Well, it's because it is tremendous in decreasing inflammation. Now, what a lot of people do not understand is that the first sign of heart disease usually is sudden death. Well, this is because your arteries may not be blocked off. In fact, if you have a plaque, that is forming in your arteries, it can rupture from the wall, and it might only be blocking 30 or 40% of your artery, but once it ruptures, a clot forms and the artery is plugged. Well, they are finding today in medical studies that fish oil can actually stabilize that plaque, and it starts to do it within 3 days of starting fish oil supplementation. Well, this in itself is a great protector against having a heart attack. And we want to stabilize that. And I mentioned earlier that the good fats, the omega-3 fats, actually decreases your LDL or bad cholesterol as it increases HDL or good cholesterol. Another thing that fish oil has been shown is that it improves the rhythm of the heart. In other words, it stabilizes heart rhythms. And so anybody who experiences an irregular heartbeat or rhythm, I'm always recommending fish oil because it is key in helping, and it's complementary. It is not, I never recommend any of this without medication. I always feel that it's complementary. It's not alternative. Taking supplements and including fish oil is about health. It's not about disease. But these are just studies that you review and you start to see the importance and what they have shown in the fact that supplementing your diet and taking high-quality fish oil supplements significantly can protect your health. And that includes brain health. You see, 60% of your brain mass contains fat. The key ingredient of this fat is DHA, which is in the fish oil. And your body, again, can't make it. So you have the actual nutrients the brain cell needs to actually regenerate itself. And yes, the brain can regenerate. It can protect, and we're damaging all this. But a lot of the damage to the brain is because of inflammation created by excessive free radicals. Well, the fish oil can actually decrease this inflammation and better protect the most vital organ in the body, which is your brain. Now, another place that omega-3 fatty acids are now being studied is in anti-aging. You see, the DNA is the key to anti-aging, and that we want to have our DNA protected. Well, there are telomeres, which are actually protective caps on the end of DNA. And as we age, scientists and researchers can see that those telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter and begin to make the DNA vulnerable to aging and damage itself. Well, there was a study that was just reported here a couple years ago in the Journal of American Medical Association, January 20th, 2010, which they looked at these telomeres, and in people who took omega-3 fatty acids in the form of fish oil supplementation. And what they saw, the higher the levels of omega-3 fatty acid intake and supplementation, showed a significant decrease in the rate of this telomere shortening. So what we see now is that even in anti-aging medicine, that omega-3 fats are critical in protecting your health. And this is key for anybody who is involved in preventive and nutritional medicine, is that our goal is to protect our health. Because my patients today are not as concerned with the years in their life as they are the life in those years. What good does it do to live to a ripe old age of 93, like President Ronald Reagan, and yet be suffering from Alzheimer's dementia and not being able to recognize your family or your spouse for the last 10 years before you die? See, quality of life is very, very important. And this is something that is very key in nutritional medicine. Now, RX has actually added CoQ10 with their wonderful fish oil. And so I'm just going to review some of the key characteristics of why CoQ10 is so critical to our health. Now, my last webinar, I did a whole webinar on CoQ10, so I'm not going to review everything, but I'm just going to go ahead and just talk to you a little bit about this. First of all, CoQ10 is critical for over 90% of the energy production within every cell in the body. That energy is ATP. That's why they call it the spark plug of the cell. It is a cofactor needed by the enzymes that produce energy. Now, it is concentrated in the mitochondria, the furnace of the cell, where all this energy is created, but also where the free radicals are created. But CoQ10 is a potent antioxidant, and it's located right where most of these free radicals are produced. So it's a key antioxidant. But when you look at it, CoQ10 is important for every cell. But what we're finding, it is more important for those cells that require high energy needs, like your immune system, like your heart, like your brain. So CoQ10 is critical for immune health, heart health, and brain health. And so this is a critical reason why RX has decided to add this to their fish oil. So RX's Omega Q is a dynamic duo. There's unbeatable quality of their fish oil. Now, I told you and shared some of the concerns I have with other companies, but not with RX's Omega Q, because they have gone to a company in Canada who are the only ones who harvest their omega-3 fats from small fish. They're at the bottom of the food chain, which includes sardines and anchovy. But they do not use these solvents in their purification process. They use a very natural process to get rid of any heavy metals. So they are purified and tested to conform to the rigorous global standards that RX needs to meet because they want to be the world's leader in supplementation around the world. And so they have the highest quality, the purest fish oil on the marketplace today. But they also contain 40 milligrams of CoQ10. Now, these are manufactured per good manufacturing practices that are established by the FDA, and they are pharmaceutical grade, and so they're the highest quality. Now, they are the ubiquinone form, and if those that heard my webinar last time, the ubiquinol form is the most potent form. However, I look at BioPro Q as an enhancer, and I like RX's Omega Q for those who are in good health but still need CoQ10. So there are added health benefits of CoQ10 in regards, again, to your heart, brain, and immune health. So this is how I tend to use and how I approach nutritional medicine. I want all my patients taking what I consider cellular nutrition. Now, I define cellular nutrition as taking all of these nutrients, essential nutrients, at their optimal advanced levels, those levels that have been shown to provide a health benefit in our medical literature. And these are very, very important for anybody who's in good health. And then if I deal with people who actually have a disease or they're struggling with some health issues, I add enhancers. So the way I look at RX's Omega Q and BioPro Q is just this way. I feel that Omega Q is more of cellular nutrition and should be added to the optimals. And in fact, RX makes it very convenient for those who want to have all of these nutrients and they're saying, well, gee, what should I take? Well, I like the optimals in Omega Q because in the optimals you're getting 100 milligrams of grapeseed, the resveratrol, you're getting the whole foods plus over 20 plus potent antioxidants. They're supporting B cofactors, the minerals, and then you get the Omega Q, which provides the fish oil, and studies show that 80% of us are deficient in omega-3 fats, but like I've mentioned, almost all of us are taking them in at the wrong ratio. But then you have the CoQ10, which is critical for general health. Now, if someone is having problems, or they're on a statin drug, or they already have some heart trouble, or they might be dealing with an autoimmune disease, or they're having trouble, or they're concerned about cancer in their family because they got such a strong family history of cancer, well then I would add BioPro Q to this. Or in some cases, another enhancer is Vanali. If I have patients who might be dealing with asthma or allergies, or too much inflammation, or they're having other problems, fatigue, chronic fatigue, I add Vanali. Now, again, let me share with you my approach in using these what I call enhancers, is the fact that nutritional supplementation is about health. It is not about disease. And I'm just trying to educate you in these webinars where it may be important for you or your family, loved ones, or anybody that you're involved with, and what they should or shouldn't be taking. But basically, RX is committed to producing and manufacturing the highest quality products in the marketplace today, and Omega Q is no exception. So if you'd like to know more information about the topics I've covered, about heart disease, about free radicals, consider getting a copy of my book, What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutritional Medicine. It's been translated now in many different languages and is available pretty much throughout the world. So it's a great resource, and I actually give all the medical references that I base my discussions with as far as that's concerned. You may also want to consider joining my website at healthconceptsint.com/RX if you wanted to just get a discount on any of my memberships. But there I share a lot of this medical information and the health benefits of taking nutritional supplements. I also share specific nutritional recommendations for many different diseases. So it's something that people find is a great tool. But I really appreciate the fact that you've been with us tonight. And this webinar is going to be available 24/7 on the RX channel. It's been recorded. So if you really like this, want to share it with someone else, you certainly will have that opportunity. And I am doing these webinars on the first and third Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time now, and I will be going through all these different things, talking about different health conditions, and sharing with you what I've learned in the last 18 years specializing in nutritional medicine. Again, thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you back.